Tim, did you get a chance to listen to that podcast I recommended?
Yeah, I listened to it.
Probably nothing you haven't heard before, and it wasn't really an in-depth study, but what'd you think of it?
Yeah, he's spot on the process. For example, the my last business that I sold for example, we started it at 475, and I basically doubled what I purchased it for. I purchased it for 225. I listed it for 475, and then you look at your profit margin. And then you got to, it gives you a real good number of where you should be at. But then through negotiation, and, I did have another buyer that was interested. So everything there, I just pretty much went through with my last deal that I did.
Can I ask, what was the industry you bought in that? And then, did you have a management team set up for it once by the time you left, or what was going on there?
So I listened to everything you sent me. I didn't recognize the names, but I was actually had my own login and that for Bigger Pockets and the Deal Maker and that Jonathan guy. So I've seen all that stuff. But to answer your question, Stacy and I just we looked at all kinds of different franchises, and we wanted a franchise, and then we got to a resale, which is huge. And I learned that through all like your information you're talking about. You don't want to start up one from scratch if you don't have to, unless you have got some sort of brilliant idea. For example, I think Smash Park in Pella, Iowa will probably go broke. I don't know how they possibly are going to be able to stay in business. Burger King in Pella is another example of I think poor decision making on location. So
So, if you're going to buy a franchise, you're recommending buy a franchise that's already established.
right, and that I went to Huntsville, Alabama, Nashville, Tennessee, and looked at two of them, and that's why I shared with you. Go over to. It's funny. Yarsma Bakery has come up so many times in the last month. People talking. Everybody notices how busy they are, and the opportunity for another bakery to pop up, just to meet the demand.
Yep.
But it's established. You know what it is. If it's bad, because in Des Moines, the guy never made any money. Okay, he lost. It looked like about $111,000. I had a strategic plan in place and confidence, and I say confidence in God, that He was going to use my talents and bless this business. So there you go.
That's awesome. That sounds great. Let's get started on the agenda notes. I'll just touch on the summary from last week real quick. Pretty much, I said last week that Bigger Pockets is the ideal or the model type business for Red Chain. They are kind of who we want to be, except in real estate, whereas we're in business buying. And this is really far out there. Like that seems almost impossible at the moment for us to be like Bigger Pockets. I think it is possible. I think there's a need there, but we're not there yet. The Bigger Pockets formula, according to my analysis, is that they preach, they counsel, and they advise. And they always bring those three principles into one story. They preach that real estate is a good investment, basic message. Their counsel to your mindset, they counsel you into the right mindset. And then they advise you on specific steps on how to get into real estate, how to get a loan, how to do lots of different stuff that's very pragmatic and practical. And all of their podcasts, I would claim, go through those three steps. So Unless you guys have comments, I'm going to move on to the vision part of our summary. The goal of this mastermind, the way we're meeting here, which let me touch on it. So I think, Tim, you understand this. I want to make sure everybody does, though. The mastermind is not me being a master and giving you part of my mind. Don't let that word trip you up. It is that when several people come together, they create a mind of its own. It's like a mind of the group. That's the mastermind. It's when many people start discussing a topic. And so I'm just hosting the topic, trying to get discussion going. Hopefully something good comes out of it. So the goal of this mastermind and of Red Chain is that Reformed Christians would have the wisdom, mindset, and knowledge it takes to purchase, manage, and lead a business. That it's a very Christian-centered mission for me. It's very much so about taking over the economy. A very straightforward mission there. Every business that is brought under the leadership of a God-fearing Christian is a business powerfully serving the kingdom of God. There's a lot of people who would not necessarily say it that way. I see so many. I think the kingdom of God is very practical. Own a business and you are serving God if you are providing a worthwhile service. This sort of dominion over businesses at large within the church, if Red Chain takes off and we can get people buying businesses in Pella's market, in Carbondale's market, in all the other CREC markets, but then also beyond that, it will eventually lead to just at least the following. These are like really basic. You'll see this really fast. We'll have good employment for Christians who want to be employed. I hate to see Christians who are employed by pagans when we don't need them to be employed by pagans. So we want to provide work for them, and there's going to be plenty of it if we actually succeed in this. Higher quality goods and services to both Christians and non-Christians. That just, if you're willing to, if you want to be the least in order to be the greatest, as Christ commanded you, you provide a better service. And so that is how you that is one way that you evangelize the world. And Christians are very suited to do that. And it blesses everybody. And then thirdly, you're going to see this pop up fairly quickly as well. Investment avenues for Christians with money toward godly businesses. There's a lot of people out there who would like to be able to invest their money in different ways and give it to the kingdom of God, and that's not always the easiest, stock market being the only way. If things are handled correctly and professionally, investing could be a real opportunity. So you guys got any comments on any of that?
I don't.
No, that sounds really good.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's where we want to go. So and I think that's possible. I forgot to include that in there. The reason I'm having this mastermind is because I've done enough research to say, okay, this is something other people are doing. Tim Galezie, you're one of them. And it's very possible. And there's people who are teaching how to do it, which is where most of my handouts, my podcast handouts and stuff like that come in. So for us to be serious about starting a social network, an educational platform for purchasing businesses, we, or whoever is the founder or leader of it, need to be successful in purchasing businesses. That's my goal for the next however many years of my life. Understanding this will be our topic for the next few weeks. So the first thing, kind of diving into it a little bit, everybody I've listened to, Dan Pena, Jonathan J, everybody recommends this is where you start out, is you build your dream team. Building a dream team will look different in the beginning stages of business. Tim, you said last time that we need to be very involved in the managing of our businesses as newbies. You're not going to just find a manager and go hire them. It's not that simple. And what you're putting on the line when you do that is your experience and reputation. You need to build up your reputation experience. so that those around you will not look down on you. So that was a good point that Tim said last time. Tim, you got any comments on that, or are you content with that?
Well, I'm sure Ben realizes it as well now. Like my own business right now, I'm trying to develop one of my workers to think like an owner instead of a worker. And there's a big difference. It's not one that's smarter. It's a whole different way of viewing things. And that's why at this level, it's critical that we infiltrate the new business and establish our Christian principles into the business. They aren't going to do it for us. Even a Christian's not going to do it for us if they don't know what they're doing.
Yeah. No, and I completely agree with you. Like, yeah, management is not something taken lightly at all. There are, even in light of that, there are two key players that, from my position, from what I can tell, are essential even before you're buying your first business, and that's the accountant and lawyer. And the reason why is because the accountant and the lawyer are going to be doing things that they have studied very in depth. They're very, I hate to say complex because that seems almost mystifying. It's not crazy complex, but it is complex enough to where having somebody who's done it before and has been trained in it is going to be definitely of value. It's like a real estate agent for a real estate buyer. They're going to be a huge part in analyzing it. And the lawyer needs to document the terms and agreements that you actually come to with your buyer, so your buyer can't, or your seller can't back out of it, so you can't back out of it, so everybody's held accountable. So that's pretty straightforward. Next week, we'll actually be going through a little bit of what it looks like to analyze a P&L statement according to an accountant. This won't be a video of me going through it with you, but it's really interesting to see how an accountant looks at a P&L statement. I think that'll be valuable to all you guys. So, but nevertheless, even though you don't want to get yourself out of the project right off the bat with a management team. I agree with Tim on that. Buying a business is, by definition, not a loner's project, and you must have a team. You must create a team, whether before or after you acquire a business. Every business requires a large variety of activities, and the owner is required to know what positions are needed to fill those activities and to make sure they run smoothly. It's like a bunch of wheels running together. Every wheel needs to spin for the system to work. And you, as the owner, this is where one of the points that Tim is talking about, you as the owner need to understand what wheels exist, what wheels don't, and how they work together, how they actually come together to mesh and create a tool at the end of the day, a system. You'll need to know and learn what you're good at and what you're not good at so that you can supplement your limitations. And some of those some examples of that would be, if you're bad at keeping track of schedules and meetings, hire an assistant. I'm fairly bad at that, but I'm okay at it. I could probably handle it. It's a hard thing for me to do, though. If you're perfectly comfortable with calling most people retarded, my thought is hire a team leader who's softer. And all I mean by that is somebody who kind of manages other people, so that I would be the type of person who would come off as an arrogant ass. Is that okay? Yeah, absolutely, especially for a small business. As you get any bigger, though, usually people don't like to be called names or anything like that. If you don't love the government's tax forms, hire an accountant. That's one that I would definitely think I would do, is hire somebody to do my taxes, whether that's like H&R Block or whoever. Doesn't matter how that works out. Can't hire somebody to fix your self-motivation problems or your vision. If you lack vision, can't hire somebody to do that. That's what an entrepreneur is. A team can be acquired in various ways. They may already work at the business you're buying. That's very common. You buy a business and it comes with some management in place or some employees you may have them in your back pocket. You may know them already, and you may have to search for them. I think one of the tasks today is to make a LinkedIn account if you guys are able. LinkedIn is a great place to start. That's where I've seen everybody recommend that, and it looks like it'd be really awesome for that purpose. Either way, your business should eventually look like a system of processes with the right type of people plugged into it. These people are your team, and eventually, if you're smart, you won't even be involved in the day-to-day because you'll hire somebody to do what you do. Or alternatively, if you create a good system, a good business, it's sellable at that point, and you can sell. So anybody have any comments?
You mentioned self-motivation and vision. What I recommend and do is I'm always looking for ways to have a mindset in the morning. I woke up where I don't want to work. What do I do? And then I have like a deja vu moment where I put my state of mind in. Basically, my most successful day as a businessman, I've got these triggers that I think about, these 5 successes that I have that get me out the door or get me up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So we want to fuel that self-motivation and vision daily. It's like lifting weights.
Do you lift weights?
I do not lift weights. I used to lift weights for years. And so you start off, you stink, you build your muscle, you tear them down, you build them up. But I used to lift 6 days a week.
Yep.
And that's before I got married and everything. But I use that analogy because you go in and you stink, and then you peak out at some point. And the key is just, after these guys do it, it's 30 minutes a day. That's it, just to keep what you got. But you create that self-motivation and that vision. It's not just going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Totally agree. I think a lot of different people are raised in different ways. The people I invited, this small core group, are definitely, all y'all are the type of people to be self-motivated. That's why I invited you. So that's great. Sorry, self-motivated naturally, but yeah, Tim is right. You're going to have to work on that in order to keep that going. I know I do. Know your business. So Tim mentioned that we need to be the day-to-day managers. Um, it is not, though it's not necessary to usually know your industry to buy a business, at least according to the professionals who buy businesses. If you're going to be managing it, you absolutely have to know what the business is. If you don't know the business, you can't manage it. It's just impossible. You'd have to learn the entire business. So professional business buyers don't follow this, but even like the most adventurous, crazy people like Dan Pena recommend it. So not only will this make your day-to-day much more manageable, but you'll be able to progress to the next level faster, i.e. you'll be able to become a manager of managers. You'll be able to institute a system, get managers in place, because you'll have a more in-depth, intuitive knowledge about the business. For instance, my most, if I were to fit myself to a business purchase right now, it would definitely be a lumber yard. I've worked at a lumber yard all my life. Am I a genius at it, or did I work at a lumber yard that's perfect, where I even had the opportunity to learn all the best ways of doing things? Nope, absolutely not. But I definitely have a vision for it and understand where lumberyards should be, where I see a lot of them not being. I'm very critical of lumberyards because I've worked at one for 12, 14 years or whatever. Long time. Yeah, it's in my blood. That's a stupid thing, but it's true. It's like part of who I am. The goal of this process. So I just laid out 2 of the first things you have to do to buy a business. We're going to continue going through that. I'm going to share videos that tend toward that as well. This is kind of a bigger picture thing. No business. I want us to become professional business purchasers, so that hopefully at some point you'll get past that point of anything that's holding you, that being a day-to-day manager, stuff like that, things that keep you to only moving so fast. I think it's possible to move much faster than what I'm trying to get to do right off the bat. So I think Dan Pena's first 100 million really presents a good layout of what's possible in that realm. He's kind of extreme, as in like he expects a lot of people, but it's definitely attainable and it's not too complicated. It's not like it's going to be a smarts thing. It's really just a dedication thing. So that's awesome. Has anybody had any chances to look up anything about business buying, research anything? What has been your thoughts so far? Does it interest you? Just curious.
It sounds like a big part of it is marketing, in the sense that you're trying to find employees a lot of the time. How would be a good way to go about that? How do you get good at finding employees? That's really hard to do.
Great question. Been there, done it. And here's an idea. Last business I sold, I went to the big guns. And you'll find businesses, if they're working right, they don't think forward. They just have this inability to see the market 5 years down the road. My point is this: the last business to be successful needed owner operators. Instead of hiring a captain, I hire a captain who I finance his truck. I'm going to finance the truck anyway. And now it's financed in a way he owns it, and he's responsible for the two guys on his truck. He goes and manages the truck. He goes and manages the employees. And then he will show up to work because he's an owner, versus calling in sick. I had an employee this week call in sick. And it's obviously this guy doesn't care. He's just showing up to make money. Where I'm showing up and see the big picture, and I don't even think about not showing up. Okay. So having owner operators in the next business and get creative. The lumberyard, think about it. Ben goes in there. What's he going to do different than Spawn and Rose in Knoxville that those guys do? They're nice guys and they're okay, but they're not good. They're not great. They don't care. So if you can figure out how to have a franchise and have the very employees actually being part of owning it, where we have 100 franchises instead of one down the road that we work at, that's who's going to make the money. And so there you go. That's just one way to answer Ben's great question.
Yeah, and that is a super good question, Ben, and I wanted to comment too. That's one huge part of the social networking red chain thing, is that we're pushing education on that topic. I think about that all the time. And one thing that I would say, and I'm not experienced enough to have the right to say this, but I think this is true no matter what. If you have the best place to work, you will have the best people. Are you going to be the best place by owning a small, like, $1 million lumberyard in Pella? You're not going to have the best business, and you're not going to have the best people. But you're going to have the best people in the industry, in the area. You should be able to guarantee yourself that to some extent. That means working hard to create a godly culture that's cohesive to relationship building, paying your workers fairly, just totally willingly. You always want to be able to cut costs, but pushing them also to be better by having a vision in place for them, have very clear goals. A lot of businesses don't have clear goals, where people wake up and they get to work and they know exactly what to do, because bosses are just, they're not visionistic. To be a strong leader and have something to do. And that's actually really healthy for people's workplaces. They want to have that. They want to have that kind of leadership. So being a good leader attracts employees. These are things I just see as being an employee at my dad's lumberyard for the last 14 years. And the statement just rings true. You have the best place, you get the best employees. That's just the way it is. That's where they want to work at. So that'd be my comment on that. Yeah.
I got a question. Do you guys think that if we move the time, most people can't get up at 5 o'clock in the morning?
Mhm.
And I mean, even great leaders, I mean, it's just, and I'm wondering, would our attendance be larger if we change the time?
I would be fine with that. Do you guys have a preference?
I don't have a preference at all. I'm just saying if we're limiting ourselves because of the time, which I think might be going on,
Definitely.
so I can do it anytime. But I just want to throw that out there. And then also I want to throw out, I have a guy that I met with Sunday that is a big deal. He almost became the CEO of Pella Windows. Okay. He sold a $50 million business. He's in town. He's a homeschooler. Ben, do you know Matt Poulter? Either Ben. Do you guys know him?
Yeah. I know the Poulters. Yeah.
Okay. So he is interested in doing what we're doing. I suggest I reach out to him and get a meeting with him and then bring you two in there. You guys are going to sell him, not me. And he'll see the potential that he has to influence you guys to impact Christ's kingdom. Okay. He offers way more knowledge and experience than I do. And he has access to money as well. So what's going to happen is you're going to have somebody, by having 10, 15 people involved in this, have access to money, and then we're going to go after our first business, and there you go. Okay, but right now we got 3 of us, and we need more bodies, like-minded people, and he's definitely. So what are your thoughts if I get a meeting with him, and then we're going to have to go sell him, okay? And I think when he sees what's going on here, he'll dive in where we can go from there.
So, Tim, are you thinking that like we bring kind of almost a presentations, not just of Red Chain or that, but like of who we are, and like, are you thinking like our young, like he'll want to like latch onto us because we're young and we work hard or something like that? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. Well, okay. So you guys, we're always salesmen, man. Lance, you're out there looking for ladies. You're selling. Okay. You're remodeling homes. You're selling. We're always selling. Some suck at it and some are great at it. First of all, you need to know you're always selling. Okay. So we're going to go to him, and I have kind of an idea how we would sell this particular guy, and why is he has the same interest to impact Christ's kingdom by owning these businesses. Why don't the Christians own them instead of pagans? Why work for a pagan? Okay, so when we present this, hey, we're young and dumb, and that is a very good thing. You don't want to be old and you know it, okay? Because you're not pliable, you're not bendable, you're not trainable. When you're 56 like me, it's a lot harder to go a different route than you guys, okay? He can bring in assets, knowledge, and wisdom that at a level that's off the charts. And if we can draw him to what our mission is, because he has the same mission, okay, that he's trying to do, he can see how he can impact, we get 10 guys in here, this team, and it's just going after people like that.
I love it. That sounds fantastic, and I think somebody like that would drive us forward so much faster than I could, being inexperienced. So that'd be awesome if you could get a meeting set up. Yeah, I'd say.
Okay, Ben, Lance, my question is to Nate. I think it would be better that we meet on Saturday and we bring Nate in and tell Nate what's going on here. I don't know what our real mission or vision is other than just talking on Saturday morning and feeding off each other. But that could be a format that say, hey, Ben, you could present the presentation to the group, and then maybe have a separate meeting and bring in Matt as a guest speaker.
Mm.
And then, but before that, you and I, we're going to meet with him and tell him about what this mastermind group is about, and then bring him in as a speaker. Okay. And this is all a way of selling him. This is once he gets to present his information, people are listening, he's going to be drawn to the group. He's going to be drawn to the mastermind group, I think. And he's going to say, yeah, let's do this. And then he's going to have access to other people. Ben Lance might have access to one of his renters or something. You too, Ben. And then if we go get 25 people and then we chip away and we got 8, there you go. Make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah, I think someone like those kind of guys really want to park their money in some place where there's younger guys that have visions, but it's hard to find. It's actually probably even harder to find people like us that have visions like that. And that would be, I feel like, really helpful for him to kind of like a win-win situation.
Right. Okay, so what I'll do today is I'll contact him, and then we'll set up a meeting, and us 3 will meet with him. He's got to see you two, because he's going to be really drawn to that. He's going to see the picture, the vision. Some old dude like me, he ain't going to see it. Okay. Then he's going to get interested. Then we're going to talk to Nate and figure out how, because if we have 10 guys there, when he does his presentation of where he was, how he got to where he's at, and where he's going, that also is selling. He's going to be drawn to us by doing that presentation and us asking him questions and all that. And then the hope is he wants to partner with us. Mm-hmm. That's the end goal for that. And then he's going to take it, who knows what he's going to bring. It can only get better.
Right. So we want to get him, so after the initial selling, want to bring him to Business Connect on one of those Saturday mornings.
Right. So somebody get a hold of Nate, tell him about well, I don't know why Nate's here, and I'm thinking it's because it's 5:30 in the morning. A lot of these guys. Is that correct?
That's probably, that could be accurate. Hey, Tim, just thought I'd let you know, Josh is here too. I'm Josh, and then we're both on just the same computer.
Okay, awesome.
We're switching on and off talking, but it's probably sounds like one person.
Okay, so are we on the same page? Any other thoughts of what I'm saying here?
So you're going to bring him in to Nathan's Business Connect meeting. He's going to discuss, and then we're going to have a separate meeting for him to present his story and stuff like that.
Well, see, he has 2 homes, so he's here now in Impella. Okay, I'll call him today. I want to set up the first meeting with us, Josh and Ben and me. We'll go have breakfast with him, and we'll get his feet wet with the mastermind, and then ask him to come in as a speaker. You guys talk to Nate. I don't want to step on Nate's toes on the Saturday morning. You guys have the relationship with Nate. Tell him what we're doing here and get his thoughts. I would assume he wants to be a part of this mastermind group. And ask him if we can bring in Matt on a Saturday, maybe the next Saturday, and have him do a presentation of, how he got started. He was an executive of Pella Corp. What he did with Pella Windows in Dallas is absolutely, you guys will be blown away what he did.
Hey, Tim, this is about to close out because I don't have a full account, just so you know.
Okay. So those are the 3 steps. You guys on board?
Yes, sir.
I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I can talk with Nathan and get that set up.
Yeah, and I think that'd be super influential to everyone at Business Connect.
Okay, so you guys talk to Nate, get back to Ben, and then I'm going to call Matt today. And the first step is to get a meeting with Matt and then we'll go from there. And I got to catch him now while he's in town. Make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Ben Ahern's, I'll talk to you offline here today. I'll give you a call.
All right. Call me soon. See you.
Okay.
Bye, guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.